Welcome to Midlife Matters. I'm Marie, and each week I'm joined by my friends Julie and Mindy to talk about all the topics keeping women in the middle years up at night. Listeners, this is our last podcast of 2024, and as cliche as it sounds, I really don't know how another year went by so quickly. But as a way of looking back and remembering, we're going to talk about some of the things we've learned this year. And Mindy came up with several categories to brainstorm, and hopefully these will help you as a listener better reflect on all you've learned in 2024 too. So Julie and Mindy, how are you feeling as we approach December 31st?
This was a hard set of questions for me, but it was good, and I realized that I did learn a lot and grow a lot. So, so in that way, it was good.
Yeah. You learned things, whether you liked what you learned or not.
Right.
Agree. I feel like it's been a bit of a whirlwind, like probably in a good way in our home, but also just whirlwind because we had just a major event with another child leaving. So anytime you have like a big year and there's some sort of mile marker like that, it seems like it takes the whole year.
Right. No, that's true. Okay, well, let's get right to the brainstorming questions, and we're just going to kind of pick and choose from what Mindy wrote. But Mindy, what was the first thing that stuck out to you when you were even thinking about this topic that you were thinking back on 2024?
One of the things that I reflected on was the question, something you love. And it's kind of lighthearted, but also meaningful to me and my family is we really loved our home this year. I didn't think it was possible, but I became even more of a homebody. And our house is at a point where it's peaceful. It rode through seasons this year, highs and lows, and we had a lot of people come and go. And I just felt that my home represented a place of peace. And I can't tell you how many times Bryce and I commented, like we would come home from an event. We're like, oh, we're so happy to be home. Oh my goodness, our home is so beautiful. You know, like to us, there's like, from the, outsider, there's nothing special. But to us, it's just representing a place that we have worked hard. We have done a lot of updates on it and things like that. But also it's well-loved, cozy, lived in. And it's just been a haven for all who have entered. And I'm so thankful for my home.
That's so good. That's been a long time coming. I know that's a good feeling.
Yes.
That's great. All right, Julie, what was something that you thought of on Mindy's list that appealed to you?
Well, I was just going to second what she said, that I loved a lot of things this year too, but for me too, that was my first thought, was I loved living in my new house and living in Franklin. And, I've always loved this little town. I've always spent a lot of time down here when I lived in Brentwood. And there's just so many days I come home to this house and think this was the right thing to do. I'm so thankful that John was able to do it, because I look back and think, how did that even happen? It becomes more of a mystery of how it actually came to be. It just seems more like an impossibility almost. And yet it happened. And so I just can't imagine driving up to that old house every day. If, I just don't think I'd be doing very well. And it's kind of ironic because all the good memories were in that house. And in this house, really, I don't have good memories of John. He was always sick here. So you would think that I wouldn't like it here. But I think it just seems like a fresh place. It's a fresh start. John saw me here. He provided it. And it's just been fresh and new and just what I needed. So I've loved it.
Okay, well, I'll have to third. I moved to this neighborhood shortly after Julie moved here, and every time I walk my dog, or every time the seasons change, or every time there's a new holiday and there's a new thing going on, or every time I walk over to the pickleball courts, I think, I love living here. So, yeah, I do think that, I think it was awesome for me in midlife. It was the right time because I was home a lot by myself because my husband travels, and living in the house that my kids grew up in, up on a hill, without really close neighbors, a tree line in back of me. I don't know. It just was kind of lonely. You could go days without seeing anybody. And now when I drive back to that area of Nashville that I lived in, I do not miss it. Like, I am nostalgic if I drive by the school or something, but I don't miss like those big yards and taking care of all that. And I just don't miss it. It's just weird because I really did enjoy it while I lived there.
Yeah, I know. I do that to kind of test myself sometimes. I'll drive by the old house and think, did I do I'm asking myself, did I do the right thing? Even though I already have said I did. And the feelings aren't there. It's like, it was a great house, but I don't miss it,
I love those tests. Like, I feel like I ask myself that the older I get, am I okay? Yeah, right. I'm okay.
That's so true.
All right. Well, what was another thing that came to you, Mindy?
All right. I'm going to go really lighthearted here. Something I ate.
Oh.
And this is kind of funny because literally there's probably one meal I ate most days of this entire year and will continue. Like, there's no shame. I love it. I love it so much.
Can I guess it?
What is it?
Eggs?
Oh, yeah.
Is that it?
Yes. Yes. I ate loads and loads of scrambled eggs with sharp cheddar cheese, turkey sausage, and a cinnamon raisin English muffin with real butter. Oh, my goodness. It still brings joy.
No, I can relate to that because I don't need to vary my diet that much, So like I get on things that I like and I'll eat them over and over and over again. That's funny. I also had something down for something you ate this year, and I'm pretty sure this was the year that I did this. I'm pretty sure maybe it was late 2023, but I've definitely done it a lot this year, is I started eating sushi. And my kids just couldn't believe it, but I don't know. There was something just so easy about it. Like at our little neighborhood grocery store, they have $5 sushi Wednesdays. And, it's just so easy in the empty nest. We only have to buy for one or two people and you just can get what you want. And I don't know. I just decided, hey, I'm going to try this. This would be a great something easy to go into my rotation. And I've really enjoyed it.
That's awesome you said that because Maria, are you familiar with Wegmans? It's a
I love
store
Wegmans. Yeah.
Okay. That's one of the big things I miss about living in Pennsylvania was Wegmans, and their sushi there was the best.
I bet it was. Yeah.
I haven't eaten it since. That's funny you say that.
Well, you need to find a place near you now, Mindy.
I do.
Did you have anything on your 8 list, Julie?
That's funny. That category was just totally blank for me.
Was it? Okay.
I feel like I just forage and I'm lucky to find something,
Yeah.
It's funny because she's always bringing us the new recipes.
I know she is.
Yeah, but I'm not consistent with them. It's like one and done, and then I'm moving on. I'm always looking for new food. So
got it.
But I don't know. The next one that I liked, the question was something I shared. And I shared my love of travel, my love of planning of travel, and my love of London with some really special friends this year and my son. And when I was thinking back on it, these friends were actually really skeptical about loving London. They kind of went into it like, I don't think I'm going to like this. I'm not sure why. But after the trip, they are smitten and cannot wait to go back. It's like they've just become Anglophiles, and it was just so fun seeing, them fall in love with a place that I really love. And we had such a great time on the trip. They were friends of John too. And so we talked about him a lot and how this trip was possible because of all that John and I had done there in London. This was just we had established going there, and then now we were passing it on to somebody else. And so, yeah, I did all the planning, and it just to see it kind of come to fruition and that they loved it was amazing.
Oh, that's really good. You have a great gift for sharing your love of travel wherever you go, because wherever you go, you make it sound so enticing that other people want to go there.
Well, good. Maybe I can turn that into something someday.
Yeah. Okay. Something on my list that I wanted to talk about it said something that brought joy. And 3 times was the charm. I finally got to see a grandchild born. So in 2020, I was supposed to see my granddaughter born. And then in 2022, I was supposed to see my other granddaughter born. So in 2020, the hospital wouldn't let me come. In 2022, she was born so quickly at home that I didn't get to see her. And so this time in 2024, I mean, we were on baby watch. Like if I went to get my hair done, Abigail was like, okay, I don't think I'm having any pains right now. And then I would have my phone on. If I was playing pickleball, I had someone on the sidelines. Let me know if she calls. Like I was going. And of course, the phone call came in the middle of the night, as most baby phone calls do. And it was so cool. Like I've had 5 kids, but you're not watching them be born. You're on the other end. And it was so cool to actually see a baby born. Like it was such an experience, and to see him so small and get to hold him right away. And like, I don't know, it brought me a lot of joy to be there for the whole birthing experience and then the newborn stage. Like I felt like I said no to more things this fall because I wanted to allow more margin in my schedule to be able to enjoy the fleeting, so fleeting newborn stage. So anyways, that brought me a lot of joy this year.
Yeah, that's something as a grandmother you realize goes way too fast. As a parent, you don't think it does, but
right.
Yeah.
Okay, I love that. That's the next category. I was going to pick two with something that brought joy. And I have 2 things in this category. The first was my simple little 5 to 10 minute gratitude walks that I started taking in the morning, kind of before my day starts. I've always loved having that time in the morning to kind of wake up, and Bryce and I are talking about the day, but I'm spending time journaling, drinking coffee, reading scripture. Well, I've gotten to where I've taken, like I said, like a 5-minute gratitude walk. And it's really an opportunity for me to just get outside of my house, be alone with the Lord. And I'm just praising him. I'm looking for the things that he's doing, and it leads to prayer. And I'm just like, Lord, just order my thoughts, order my steps. It has been a pivotal part of my life that I can't imagine not doing it now. Like it has turned into a new start to my day. The second thing that's brought joy is just watching the Lord order our steps with Jacob, picking a college, navigating him out of the house, picking his dorm, and he's finishing his first semester at UGA tonight with his chem final. And it has been really wonderful to watch that happen. And I think navigating the third child, like I knew God was going to make the path straight, but there's just so many decisions that have to be made, so many choices, that it can cause parents a lot of stress and trepidation, and your child doesn't know what to expect. And I just really love looking back, watching that God made it all straight and worked it out, and Jacob is doing well. He loves where he's at, and I'm so thankful.
It reminds me of really how fast a year goes, because at this time last year, you were not sure like where he was going to pick, and you were like anticipatorily mourning the ending of all the senior milestones. And now when you say he's finishing up the last day of his first semester, I mean, to an outsider, that just shows you how fast it goes.
Yes. Because any parent walking a kid through that a year ago, I knew we were anticipating an emotional dumpster fire. Like, it's just like you hope for the best, but you're like bracing yourself. You're like, I just don't know how this is going to go.
Right. That's really true.
That's true.
What was something on your list, Julie?
Well, for bringing joy, this was hard to explain, but I just thought living in the present has brought me joy. And I'm not saying to do it perfectly, but this is something I've been learning. And I think I spent most of my life kind of fixating on the highs and lows of life, and that can also be translated past and future, like kind of living off the highs that were good, but maybe aren't anymore, or the lows and dreading the future because of a potential low. But I'm trying to learn that those aren't the defining moments in life. The defining moments in life are really all the other days where God gives you the grace and you receive it to have the best response possible to all those situations, especially the lows. And, I guess the best analogy is kind of like, it's not the wedding that's important. It's your marriage. It's what you do with every other day. It's not the birth of your child. It's how you raise that child. It's not the 2-week awesome vacation. It's how you live the other 50 weeks of the year. That's kind of the way I try to think of it. Like, what do I do with just day after day after day? And I just think that, after significant loss, that doesn't have to define me. It's how I'm letting myself be changed and transformed and living in light of that, that's what should define me. And so that has brought a lot of joy, just trying to, like Mindy said, some days I say, am I all right? And then I'm like, I am, and it's kind of surprising to me, and that I have found joy, but I have to fight, not rehearsing the future and letting myself get too far. It's just staying right here in the present. And that's where I find joy.
That's awesome, Julie. And that's inspiring to other people too, the other people that are around you.
It's a hard lesson. It's a hard way to learn it. But I'm glad that the Lord is teaching that to me.
Yeah. All right. On a little lighter note on my list, I know that you probably had something more momentous in mind when you said something that brought surrender, Mindy, but I was thinking about something that brought surrender in my life this year was I finally got progressive glasses. So I surrendered to my failing eyesight, and I see people fighting this, people in my family included. Like, they have a million pairs of reading glasses, can never find one when they need one. And I want to say, like, either get progressive contacts or the monovision, or get progressive glasses, but you don't have...
Or a chain.
Yeah, or a chain. You don't have to live with Costco reading glasses for the rest of your life. And I love being able to see. Like, it's just such a thing that you take for granted. And it really is good to have glasses. So anyways, if you are on the fence, I know in midlife it is hard to admit. If you've never worn glasses, like I never wore glasses. So if you've never been a glasses wearer, it's hard to admit that now 24/7, you either need glasses or contacts. That's a very, it was a hard place for me to get to.
But you're right. Once you surrender that, it's great. It's like, you need to see. You need to see clearly.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Thank you for sharing that, Marie.
Hey, it might help some listener out there on the fence.
Yes. Something that brought surrender in our home was the season of saying goodbye to my grandfather. And this was just really bittersweet. It was a longer season than we anticipated it to be. We didn't realize that we would be walking that road this year, but it really allowed my family to pull together and come together in a way that was so beautiful, actually. Having an opportunity for my parents who live so far away from us to live with us for almost 3 months. The daily interactions were really sweet. And then I was asked early on in my grandfather's journey to speak at the funeral. And so I was processing what it means for a believer in Christ to die. And I know that sounds very sad, but it ended up to be one of the most joyful processes of surrender that I went through this year, as I even just processed, what does God want me to say? Honoring my grandfather, speaking about his life, but also testifying of the life he lived in Christ. And so that journey of surrender really brought a joy and a peace and a rest. And I realized that for the believer, dying is such a gift, and life is hard. And while we're still living, it's hard. We're going to face trials, but that God provides a way. And so just walking that road was, again, you hear it, it's joy and grief in the same hand. And it really was a beautiful road to walk with my family.
I'm glad you got to be so close and involved in all of that when he was in his last days.
Mm-hmm.
It was a gift. It really was.
It is. Yeah, I also had an answer to the surrender question. Last year, and I think I even said this on the podcast, that I got kind of frustrated, even angry when people told me grief never ends, it never goes away. That really made me angry. I was like, if one more person says that, I'm going to scream, because this cannot be. I see people walking around living their lives. This cannot be. And I've kind of surrendered that and accepted that. And I just have a different perspective. And that came through kind of just learning to live with lament, which is just a language for loss, like a way to bring it to God. And I'm learning to accept that truth and understand that I actually don't want grief to go away, because if it went away, that meant John would go away. Like the memory of John would go away. I don't want it to go away. So now it's something that I feel like I carry with me into my new life. And I think I even have mentioned this before from a book I read. They were saying, like, if you were standing at the base of Mount Rainier, it would loom large. That was all you could see, like grief. But the further you get back from it, it seems smaller relative to the whole landscape, And actually, the mountain hasn't changed size at all. It's just your perspective. And so I finally just understood that about grief, that's what those people meant. But you can't understand that on that end when you're so close to it. How that grief could be something you carry and it would be good, that you'd want to carry. So I apologize to anyone that I might have offended by saying that made me angry. It's just, it took a year, and at that point I was just like wanting to get through grief. Like, I can't wait till I'm on the other side and this is over. And it's not over, but it's good. So I wish there was a better way to explain that to people who are fresh in grief, but I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I think it's probably encouraging to anyone listening who is fresh in grief to hear how you felt about it just a short time ago, really 1 year ago, to how you feel about it today. So I feel like that is kind of encouraging to somebody. And
yeah, I hope so.
Or as encouraging as anything can be at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Something else on your list, Mindy, was something you learned. And so I learned that I can like camping. And that was a great surprise to me. 2024 was the year I finally surrendered and did not rent like a cabin or a hotel room. I actually slept in a tent on the ground in a sleeping bag because I wanted to spend time with my extended family that loves to camp. And we had a great time. And I think I could do it again. So I guess I just learned that, one, if you have the proper tools, that makes things a lot better. So go ahead if you're going into what you think is a hard situation and get the things that you need that will make it as easy or as comfortable as possible. There's no need to make your life harder than it has to be. And then also you can enjoy some hard things because of the people that are around you. Like, yeah, you might not be enjoying this particular situation of comfort level, but you are enjoying the people that are around you. So I would just say that I learned a lot about myself, even just camping for a week this summer.
Well, in any sport, the equipment is most of the fun. I think I love getting new sports equipment. So
right.
Yeah, I can see how if I started camping, that would be dangerous.
A new obsession. Julie would have all the right tools.
Seriously. I mean, you need the right shoes, the right clothes.
Decorating the tent.
Yes,
That's
I could
right.
see Julie doing that. Yeah. I guess anything can be learned. Like, you can think that you don't like something, and then when you're forced to, you can learn it. And you'll get better at it as time goes on. I'm sure I would do different things differently, but I still had a great time.
Yeah, that was something I said, something about that I learned was, this year I learned to manage my money. I learned to invest it. I learned to pay bills. I learned to negotiate with insurance companies. I learned to get my own health insurance. I learned to sell and buy cars. I learned to pay my taxes. And I was just looking back through all my journals, kind of getting ready for this podcast. And I looked at like a week, this week last year. I could just see all the fear and anxiety in my writing about the future, and just the responsibilities, much less just the emotional part, but just the things I had to do. And it all seemed impossible. And I'm just so grateful for the distance now. Like when in Grief Share, I've met some people that are grieving events, losses that happened very recently. And it just gives me a lot of empathy for them. And it also makes me think, wow, like I'm so glad I've got this 13 months between my loss and now, because that was a hard time. And I'm just really thankful that I mean, just by God's grace, I did not get stuck there in fear and bitterness and regret of like what could have been, what should have been, but just kept moving forward, because like you just said, in midlife, it's very easy to think you can't learn new things. At least for me, it is. I'm like, I'm too old for that. I can't learn that. My brain just doesn't retain things, blah, 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 And yes, you can learn hard things. You can do it. Sometimes just being made to do it is what it takes, like you don't choose to learn it, but it is possible. I've learned a lot of things I thought I could never do.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've watched you learn a lot of things this year, Julie, and it's been very inspiring.
Well, you've helped a lot. You and Steven helped a lot.
All that financial stuff, like that's a mic drop moment. I hate to follow that because
I know.
That's major.
I know.
I'm not saying I understand it all, but at least I'm, plowing through it.
Oh my goodness. Something I've learned, and this is a category I was excited to talk about as well, is how when you struggle in something for such a long time and then you don't realize you've maybe conquered it essentially until one day you kind of look up and you're like, oh wait, like I'm not struggling with that anymore. I noticed that this year in multiple areas of my life. And I'm just going to put this under the category of being at rest, learning how to rest. And that has come from chasing the author of peace. So peace has been just this overwhelming daily surrender of something I've learned. Now, this is going to sound very similar to something you said, Julie, about how life is in the daily. Like it's not necessarily those big moments, but this also stems from just my gratitude walks in the morning. There's a lot in this category of something I've learned, but I think that one thing that I realized was that I'm not struggling so much with my health. Like I have been trying so hard and like so intentional. And honestly, it's been 10 years since I got healthy. It was 10 years ago that I finally learned how to be healthy. But it was this year that I felt like I could say, that's just who I am. Like I'm not trying so hard. I can just be, if that makes sense. I'm at rest in it. There's balance there. There's forgiveness there. There's longevity there. There's even long suffering there. Noticing that there's going to be seasons of struggle and seasons of peace. But just this peaceful surrender of each day. Another area with something that I learned was that I'm not afraid of the transition of the seasons this year. I've noticed that like markedly different than years past. The first morning a couple of weeks ago when I walked outside for my morning walk and I had to quickly come back in and put a head warmer on and a jacket and gloves, it actually brought me joy. And I thought, okay, God, you've healed me. Like there was a fear of that transition of seasons. Sounds silly. I'm not afraid of the dark. We're in a dark season, like God is in each season. And just when I walk in the mornings on the gratitude walk, God is bringing scripture to mind, and he is faithful to all generations and in every season. And I feel that this year. It's given me a peace and a rest that I just don't have to try so hard. I can be in my home and I can just be at peace. And I really feel like all that I just said falls under me chasing the author of peace in each season and each situation.
Well, it's just finding him there in each season and
Yes.
each change, I get that. The other day it was just really cloudy and kind of drizzly, and I was like, "Oh, this is just such a great day." Like I liked it like that. I don't know, and that's not usually me. I'm a sunshine person, but yeah, it's just good to be able to find the good in just whatever it is, and I think that's just a habit. It sounds like a lot of that is just that habit has developed, and you're resting in that now after 10 years.
Well, I'm contrasting that in my mind to, I think we might have had like a life update this summer. It must have been relatively recently. And I think you had just dropped Jacob off at school and you came home and you were like, I'm going back to school. I'm going to start a business. I'm going to do this. And like that was so the opposite of now, just a few months later, you saying like you're chasing the author of peace. It's amazing how in just the course of 1 year, we can, of course, everybody has ups and downs, and life is not just one long linear thing. We all have dips and valleys and stuff, but it is just funny that we can feel one way, and then just a few short months later, we can look at it from a whole different perspective.
Yes, I haven't started that business yet, or gone back to school, or done anything.
I think what part of that was key with what you talked about earlier is soon as you felt that, do I have any purpose? What am I going to do? That was when your grandfather got sick. And then you had family staying with you for like months and you had a purpose. Like, I think sometimes it takes us feeling needed and having a purpose for some of those feelings to calm down.
And it's true, Marie. I had no idea when we dropped Jacob off how life would change in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it happens, and it'll continue to happen. But I think it really did slow me down. I couldn't make plans for the future, but there was a sweet surrender to that and finding rest in that, like unknown, knowing that we didn't know what the next day held, but for some reason it brought me joy just to do the one thing at a time. And I'm like,
yeah,
I'm on a very short leash, and that's okay.
Yeah, like not living in the future or dread of it or anticipation, either one, because like when you dropped him off, like you said, you had no idea what was coming next, and we don't, and just how we just can't predict it, and that's good. And maybe, Mindy, does this mean you're going to join Marie and I in loving fall?
I did. I was like, you guys, my family didn't recognize me. They have not recognized me. In fact, I'm so at rest and peace. I'm not done buying for Christmas. I'm like, I'm not sure when that's going to happen, but at least I'm not dreading it.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, you had on your list something that was fun. And I do feel like I've done a lot of fun things this year, but I had to kind of laugh because everyone was home for Thanksgiving, and then everyone left, including Steve, to go back on the road. And he always teases me and it's like, oh, I bet you're not sorry that I'm leaving. And I said, no, it's fine. I said, I am going to watch season 2 of The Empress and sit and embroider. And he goes, oh my goodness. But like, I think embracing like what is fun for you, I was perfectly happy. I think it may have even been a cold and rainy day, Julie, to turn those 6 episodes on and sit there and work on my embroidery and not apologize to anyone for thinking that this is fun. And I think that we can just embrace what is fun for us. Like this year, I got my paints back out. And well, actually, I didn't get my paints back out. I bought all new paints because I had so thoroughly purged my house of painting.
I remember that.
Yeah, but it was fun. It was fun to do a painting. It's still really fun for me to play pickleball. Like just embracing the things that are fun.
Oh, I didn't see the question about having fun, but I do have an answer for that. And this kind of is also something I learned and something I bought and something that's fun. And this might be something that no one else would think is fun, but I am learning to make hand-poured beeswax candles.
Oh, I can see you feeling like that's fun, Julie.
Yeah. And my dad and my mom used to do this as a hobby, and they always had great candles to give out to all my friends and to me. And I noticed that in my little box where I keep candles, they're all little nubs now, that these candles that my dad had made. And I thought, oh, my supply is running low. And my mom said, oh, I wish we could do that. Like, why can't we do that? So I bought a mold and I spent a lot of time. It probably took me 2 months to research the best way to do it. And I buy pure beeswax, and I had to buy wicks and a wicking needle and the right kind of pans to heat it on the stove and everything. And then you just pour it in the molds, and I'm making tapers.
Oh,
Like tall
that is
tapers. And they're a
cool.
beautiful color. They smell nice. It's just a fresh beeswax smell. They're not scented or anything. And they burn really clean and they don't drip. So that has
Wow.
been my fun project for the fall. And I'm still doing it. So that's my goal, is to just keep a stock. And so y'all might be seeing some candles soon in your
Yeah.
if I can keep making them. So
I can't
I
wait
think
to
I
get
said-
a candle.
I think I said one year I wanted to make that my go-to hostess gift. So I did go to a party, and that's what I took, was just two candles wrapped together. And so that's kind of my goal, is just to have a stash to
That's
give to
nice.
people. And it's
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to make little tags that are like handmade by Julie or something.
I did. I did a little
you
bee
did?
on it.
Oh,
I did a
that's
little
cute.
Yeah.
I did a little watercolor bee. So
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I love
Why am I
it.
not surprised? Listen, I, for one, would love to receive this hostess gift. I'd like to personally invite you to my house. That is fabulous, Julie. I love that.
well, it's fun, and it kind of brings back memories of my dad doing it, and for
Yeah.
my mom too. So
Well, I know,
Yeah.
I think that's awesome for your mom, because you heard her express like, oh, I miss doing that. And how great for her to be able to help you and
Mhm.
share what she remembers and see it come to life in
Yeah.
a new way. And that's such a special thing.
yeah, it's been fun.
I had something in the fun category too. And it was also along with something that we bought because it was kind of an investment. Like anytime you go to an SEC football game, it is expensive. Like
Mhm.
however way around
It is.
it is expensive.
It's gotten a lot more expensive than it used to be.
Yes. The first purchase Bryce and I made when Jacob decided to go to UGA was we were sitting at the Starbucks on campus while he was at orientation, like picking out classes. We decided we were going to the Georgia-Tennessee football game in Athens. And we were like, we are doing this.
Mhm.
And so we made a whole weekend of it. At that time at orientation, we got the Airbnb and we got the tickets. We knew that we could take two of the boys, and Jacob was already there. And so there was 5 of us total that kind of experienced this weekend. It was so fun to be able to go to Athens for the weekend and do all the stuff. And then it got even better because we found out game day was going to be there in Athens. And that's literally Bryce's favorite show of all time. And we were there, and you guys, I lost sleep and I was committed, and it was so fun.
Mhm.
And so we did everything. Like, and by that point, Jacob was, well versed about campus. We got to be in his environment. Both Grant and Nathan ended up staying with him in his dorm the whole weekend. We didn't even know that was going to happen. Like, Nathaniel had this whole immersive, like, college for a weekend with his brother, which was amazing.
Mhm.
And then, honestly, this was the free part of the weekend, and it ended up being my favorite part of the weekend. But I mentioned that we got to go to Jacob to his church on Sunday morning, and we fell in love with his church, and it just brought such joy. One of those crucial things that as a parent, I'm like, God has provided for my child in every way.
Mhm.
So we got to be on campus, we got to see him there, enjoy the game, and then we got to go to his church. And I'm just like, wow, that was amazing. And the highlight was going to church.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. That brings to mind something that you had something you shared, but I guess I'll change it to something we shared in. So my son and daughter-in-law moved to Baltimore in September. They bought their first house this year. And we got to go for a weekend in October, and we got to share in their new life. And I think that's so important. Like, I can hear about their house, and I can hear about their church and their friends and their street, but nothing replaces going and seeing it. And also just getting to share in things more as friends. Like I talked about, I think last week, about how your relationship changes with your kids when you're not in a parenting role anymore. You're not their authority. Like you can be more equals. And it's just such a great experience to go and to just hear what they want to do to their house and see what they're doing and hear about their jobs and go out to eat and walk the streets and just do things together as more like friends. And I just really treasure that we've gotten to that stage. And I think that it's a stage that all parents should look forward to and really be on the lookout for and anticipate with fun.
Yeah, it is a fun stage to see them having building their own life and in their own way.
Mm-hmm.
Something else that was fun that I wanted to say, because I don't know when this episode's going to come out, but we got to go to Nate Bargatze here in Nashville. He filmed it was a variety show that's going to air on, I think it's on CBS in December. It might be the 16th. We thought it was going to be just his stand-up show, but it ended up being a variety show, and it was live or taped live. And it was kind of like being something that you would imagine in Los Angeles, like a live taping. So we had, like when we're on, when we're off, they had a little comedian out there just for the audience to get us warmed up and keep us warm, because we would have to take all these breaks in the filming, and sometimes they'd have to redo a song or whatever. And
neat.
So they kept the audience, warmed up, and then had a clap, and like, okay, we're gonna, this is just like we've just heard this song, so we'd clap when it came back on. And they had Noah Khan as a guest, and some really famous people that we were not expecting. Everything was kind of a surprise.
Oh, neat.
And they had some pre-filmed scripts. It was actually kind of like watching SNL, like how they have some things on film and some skits are live. So it was like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really, really fun. That was just a neat experience to get to see something filmed that way. And of course, he's my favorite. He's so funny.
And especially with one of your sons being in film,
Yeah.
That's really neat for him too.
Yeah, he recognized some of the crew, and
yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's really
so
cool.
that was fun. So if you get to see it in December, you should watch it. It's worth watching.
Do they pan the audience? I want to see if we can pick you out.
Well, they did, but it was funny because when the show was getting ready to start, there was nobody sitting in the front two rows. Those people were late. We had to wait until they came, and they made so much fun of them coming in like they were so privileged, and us in the balcony were the working class who got there on time. And this lady walked in a fur, and he goes, "Doesn't surprise me,"
That's too funny.
It was so funny. So we really had to wait because they said we cannot have a live taping with two empty rows.
Yeah.
I thought, I'll go sit down there.
I know. Sorry, you lose your seat.
So it's just funny the things they had to be concerned about, So
Right.
they did pound the audience, but they probably didn't get up where I was sitting.
Okay. Julie is not the one in the fur.
No. But I'll recognize the first two rows because they made fun of them constantly.
That is so fun.
Yeah. All right. Does anyone have any other questions on this list that they want to end with?
Mindy, you had one more question that said, what is something that you forgave? And so I don't want to go into details on that. I just wanted to say something about forgiveness. And this is a truth I've known in my head, but it just became clear to me through an experience this year. And I heard someone explain this on a podcast that, you can love all people. You can recognize their value. There can be room in your heart for all people, but that doesn't mean there's room in your car. And I thought that is such a good explanation. Like, your car has limited seating, and these are the people traveling life with you. Just a few fit in your car. And if somebody else is going the complete other direction, they don't fit in your car. And I don't know, that just was very helpful to me, that I can still love someone and forgive them and care about them, but there can be distance. They don't have to be right there in the car with me. I thought that was very freeing because I had to do that over the last couple of years. And that was just, I don't know, I struggled with a little bit of guilt. Like, is it right to create distance? Is it right to not maybe be in contact? But that was just really, really good. Like, there's just certain people that are traveling in the same direction closely with you. And then everybody else is outside the car.
Yeah, I will remember that illustration because that's very catchy.
Well, that's a great picture.
Yeah, I thought so.
For that.
Did you have any other ones, Mindy?
I had a very lighthearted one that I'll end with. Something that I bought. I know I mentioned, bought with another something, but this is more lighthearted. All right. This is all about clothes.
Okay.
Something that I bought this year was Athleta leggings. Now, I have mentioned them as I'm a fans, but literally it's all I wear now.
Okay.
Between the leggings, the joggers, just watch for sales. That was something that I bought.
Mm-hmm.
My go-to workout shoe this year was Brooks Glycerins. I feel like that will change through the years. And so for this year alone, though, that's what I wore for my go-to workout shoe, walking shoe. And then my go-to store for jeans was Madewell again, because they started making this curvy fit and different types of jeans. And they're adding a little more stretch. And so I fell in love with Madewell jeans again this year too. So those are 3 things that I bought that pretty much I was wearing most days out of this year.
I might have to give Madewell another try, because I think I tried them a few years ago based on, some of your I'm a fans, and I felt like their jeans were not very stretchy or forgiving. Like they almost felt kind of uncomfortable. But maybe with this newer style, I should give them another chance.
Yeah, I just got a pair I told you at Nordstrom, and they are super stretchy. They're black jeans. And I had not been able to wear Madewell jeans either. They just didn't fit or feel comfortable, but these are really nice.
Okay. So give them another try then.
Give them a shot again, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, I love this wrap up of 2024. Listeners, we'd love to hear about your 2024. You can find us on Instagram at Midlife Matters Podcast, or you can email us at midlifematterspodcast@gmail.com. But before we go, we want to do I'm a Fan. All right, Julie, what are you a fan of this week?
Okay, I'm a fan of a book, and this is not a typical midlife woman's book, but I'm going to say it anyway, because when my daughter was here, she mentioned that her book club had read it. And I said, really? You got women to read this book? And I went upstairs on our library shelf, and sure enough, John had a copy of it. And so I read it. It still had the bookmark in it from Sundog Books at the beach, a bookstore that we buy books from when we're at the beach.
Uh-huh.
And it's called Midnight in Chernobyl. It's nonfiction. And it was really technical about radiation and reactors and nuclear power plants and all that. But it was written in a way, I'll say the author did such a good job of writing it in a way that you still wanted to keep reading, because it was pretty technical.
Yeah.
But it was a page turner for me. And it really got into some of their personal lives, and it gave a great glimpse of life in communist Soviet Union, like what it would have been like to live there, just through glimpses of things, but just how shoddy the work was and how deceptive. And it just made me, not that we live in a perfect country, but gosh, it was, it would have been a dark place to live. And it was, I just think that kind of stuff is fascinating. Now I've moved to watching documentaries on Chernobyl, and this area is uninhabitable for like the foreseeable future. And ththese women, they're called babushkas, grandmother in Russian. They have snuck back in and have lived there since the accident.
Oh,
and they're like old ladies, like
dying?
in their 90s.
They're not dying from radiation?
It's weird.
Oh.
No. I mean, they're not in the 10-kilometer zone. They're in the 30-kilometer zone. But they've just said, I will die here on my land. They're growing their own food. They're fishing in the lakes.
Oh.
So there's a whole documentary on that. It's wild.
That is wild.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, Mindy, what are you a fan of this week?
I'm a fan of a new mascara.
Oh.
For years, I was using the Thrive tubing mascara. And this past year, probably from July to October, my lashes were falling out and getting very thin.
Wow.
This has never happened to me. Never. So I stopped using mascara, period. And I let my lashes rest and stopped my subscription to Thrive. I couldn't find anything online about this happening to anybody else. So I'm not sure why this has happened to me. However, my lashes have finally grown back. And most days I'm not wearing mascara, which is new for me. But I went away from the tubing mascara and I'm using Tarte mascara again, which I've used in the past. And it's just called Gifted Amazonian Clay Smart Mascara. It's vegan, cruelty-free, ophthalmologist tested. Like my eyes tend to be very sensitive. I don't like feeling that I have eye makeup on. Like I feel like, I have stuff in my eyes. I'm like, oh, get it off. This is very light. I don't feel like I'm wearing it. And honestly, it's just like 2 swipes of mascara if I'm going to put it on. And my lashes are so much fuller and then they've all grown back. So I don't know what happened, but I've had to change mascara and I'm very happy with my new mascara.
That's so interesting, Mindy, because I don't hardly ever wear mascara, but if I am going to wear it, I do have that Thrive tubing one that you just talked about. But I find it such a pain to get back off my eyes that I can't help but thinking I must be removing eyelashes while I'm removing this. Like there's no way that I'm not. And so I don't know. I mean, I just find even when I'm using eye makeup remover, I have to really try to get it off.
Okay, right. I've discovered the secret to that because I thought that too. Like if I use some kind of eye makeup remover or just my soap and water or whatever, it just doesn't come off and I feel like I'm being too rough. If you just take some water, you just slip them off. They actually just come off in tubes in the sink, like just water and kind of just like do your fingers like this on your lashes. It's amazing. Okay. Yeah. I wear that stuff every day. So
do you? Okay. And your eyelashes are still there, Julie. Yeah. But I really do think that it could have contributed to your eyelashes falling out, Mindy.
I have no idea. It's sad. It's sad when your eyelashes aren't there.
For sure. All right. This week, I am a fan of a restaurant that Julie and I went to last week, and it was my first time to go there, North Italia. I'm just not one to venture out to a lot of new restaurants. So I actually looked it up afterwards. Julie, did you know it's owned by the Cheesecake Factory?
No.
Yeah. So it's owned by Cheesecake Factory. I think it has like 25 locations in the U.S. It says that it's a modern interpretation of Italian cooking in the upscale casual dining segment. So it's supposed to kind of be like a modern Italian restaurant with a neighborhood feel. And I really loved the feel of it inside. I felt like the decor was cute. It was bright. The chairs were super comfortable. We got a farm board, which I thought I could literally eat it for lunch every single day of my life. It was basically vegetables, fruits, and this really great bread and pesto. And did it even have any meat on it, Julie? I don't remember.
No.
It was all farm vegetables.
Even had beets that I ate.
Beets. The beets were delicious, and Julie doesn't even like beets.
Wow.
It was amazing.
Really, really good. And then it was her birthday, and they bring you out a free birthday dessert. And at lunch, you can do half portions. So we actually split a half portion of a pasta. So we had each a quarter portion of a pasta because they're still huge. And then we got the whole farm board because we really wanted to be able to enjoy that. So we split a farm board and then the dessert. But it was great for midlife women. You can split your portions down and we just had a really fun time. So if you have a North Italia near you, try it out.
Yeah, it was so good. We told the waitress that we wanted to split the half. And she was like, oh, no, that's not going to be enough food. And I had been there before. And I was like, trust me, if we get all these other things, it's going to be plenty.
Yeah, so, and it was.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, delicious.
Well, you guys, it's hard to believe we're saying goodbye to 2024.
I know.
Listeners, we're not going to release one on Christmas Day, and we're not going to release one on New Year's Day. So that is why we are saying goodbye to 2024. So we will see you in 2025.
That's right.
Sounds great. I'm looking
Merry
forward
Christmas
to it.
And Happy New Year.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right.
Bye. We're so happy you joined us today. You can find the show notes for this episode at midlifematterspodcast.com. Also, please tell a friend about the show and help them hit the free subscribe button on their favorite podcast app. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Midlife Matters Podcast. That's where we post pictures and stories about all the things we talk about in each episode. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.